Hey there, welcome to our channel. I've got some exciting news for all you American expats out there. Recently, the Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell report that's got everyone talking. It seems that presidential candidate Donald Trump has come out in support of ending the double taxation on Americans living abroad. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. What's double taxation and why should I care? Well, let me break it down for you. Double taxation is essentially when you're forced to pay taxes on the same income twice, once to the country you're living in and again to Uncle Sam back home. It's a huge issue for expats like us, and it's been a thorn in our sides for far too long. This statement from Trump could be a game changer for Americans living and working overseas. Let's take a look at the current situation. Before we dive into the details of Trump's proposal, let's take a moment to understand the current U.S. tax system for citizens living overseas. It's a bit of a mess, to be honest. The United States is one of only 2 countries in the world that practices citizenship-based taxation. This means that no matter where in the world you live, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're required to file U.S. taxes every year. Now, I know from personal experience how complicated this can be. As an expat, I've had to juggle filing taxes in my host country and back in the States. It's not just about paying taxes, it's about the paperwork, the stress, and the constant worry that you might accidentally run afoul of some obscure tax law. We're required to report our worldwide income to the IRS, even if we haven't set foot on U.S. soil in years. It's a headache, to say the least. Understanding double taxation. Imagine you're living and working in, say, Germany. You're paying German taxes on your income, as you should. But then the U.S. government comes knocking, saying, hey, don't forget about us. Suddenly, you're faced with the prospect of paying taxes on that same income to 2 different countries. Now, I know what you're thinking. That can't be legal, right? Well, it is, and it's been causing headaches for Americans living abroad for decades. The financial implications can be severe. I've seen friends and colleagues struggle to make ends meet because they're essentially paying taxes twice on every dollar they earn. It's not just about the money either. It's about the feeling that your own country is punishing you for choosing to live and work overseas. Now let's take a look at some of the countries in which Americans are facing double taxation. The unfortunate reality is that this double taxation issue affects Americans in many countries around the world. Some of the major culprits include China, India, and Brazil. These are huge markets with lots of opportunities for expats, but the tax situation can be a real deterrent. Let me give you a specific example. I have a friend who moved to Brazil for a fantastic job opportunity. She was thrilled until she realized the tax implications. In Brazil, she was already paying up to 27.5% in income tax. Then she had to turn around and potentially pay up to 37% to the United States on the same income. Sure, there are some deductions and exemptions available, but the burden is still significant. This double taxation doesn't just hit our wallets, it impacts our financial decisions too. I've seen people turn down great job offers or investment opportunities because the tax implications made them financially unviable. It's frustrating to watch doors close because of an outdated tax system. And now let's take a look at some countries with tax treaties. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. The U.S. has negotiated tax treaties with many countries to help alleviate this burden. These treaties are designed to prevent double taxation and reduce the overall tax burden on expats. Some countries with favorable tax agreements for U.S. expats include the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. In these countries, you can often claim tax credits for the taxes you pay locally, which can significantly reduce or even eliminate your U.S. tax bill. I remember when I first moved to the UK, I was relieved to learn about the tax treaty. It made a huge difference in my financial planning and gave me peace of mind. These treaties don't completely solve the problem. We still have to file U.S. taxes and deal with the paperwork, but they do help ease the financial burden. So now let's look at Trump's proposed changes. In the Bombshell report, Trump stated he supports ending the double taxation of overseas Americans. This is huge news for expats. The potential benefits are enormous. We could finally be on a level playing field with our non-American colleagues and competitors. Imagine being able to take home more of your hard-earned money or being able to invest in your host country without worrying about the U.S. tax implications. It could open up a world of opportunities for American expats. Of course, this change will impact U.S. tax revenue. The government will potentially lose out on billions of dollars in tax revenue from expats. But I'd argue that the long-term benefits increase competitiveness of U.S. citizens abroad, more Americans willing to take overseas assignments, and potentially even increased foreign investment by U.S. citizens could outweigh the short-term loss in tax revenue. And now let's discuss the potential implementation. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but how would it actually work? Well, there are a few potential ways this change could be implemented. One option would be to switch from citizenship-based taxation to residence-based taxation, like most other countries in the world. This would mean that U.S. citizens would only pay taxes on income earned within the United States. Another possibility would be to expand the foreign earned income exclusion, which currently allows expats to exclude a certain amount of foreign earned income from U.S. taxes. They could increase this amount or remove the cap entirely. Of course, modifying the current tax system won't be easy. There are a lot of moving parts, and any changes would need to go through Congress. It's not something that could happen overnight. We're likely looking at a timeline of several years for any significant tax reform, even if there is political will behind it. So what's the impact on expats? If this proposal becomes a reality, it could be life-changing for Americans abroad. I can't tell you how many times I've heard fellow expats say they feel penalized for living overseas. Ending double taxation could remove that penalty and open up a world of opportunities. We might see an increase in overseas employment for Americans. Companies might be more willing to send U.S. employees abroad if they don't have to worry about compensating for double taxation. And Americans might be more willing to accept these assignments if they're not facing a hefty tax bill. This could also have a positive effect on foreign investment by U.S. citizens. Right now, many expats are hesitant to invest in their host countries because of the complex tax implications. Remove that barrier, and we might see more Americans engaging in international investment and entrepreneurship. And now let's take a look at some severe measures some expats have considered due to the double taxation. This is a touchy subject, but it's one we need to talk about. In recent years, there's been a troubling trend of expats considering citizenship renunciation due to the tax burden. It's a drastic step, but for some, it's felt like the only way out from under the weight of U.S. tax obligations. These statistics are sobering. In 2020, nearly 6,707 Americans gave up their citizenship, a 260% increase from 2019. While not all of these were due to tax reasons, it's widely acknowledged that the U.S. tax system plays a significant role in many of these decisions. If double taxation were to end, we might see this trend reverse. Americans abroad wouldn't feel forced to choose between their citizenship and their financial well-being. It could be a win-win situation, allowing expats to maintain their ties to the U.S. while pursuing opportunities abroad. Conclusion. So let's recap what we've covered. To the Bombshell Wall Street Journal report, presidential candidate Donald Trump has stated his support for ending the double taxation of Americans living abroad. This could potentially alleviate a significant financial burden for expats who currently have to navigate complex tax obligations to both their host country and the U.S. The impact of this proposal, if implemented, could be far-reaching. We're talking about improved financial situations for individual expats, increased competitiveness for Americans in the global job market, and potentially even a boost to U.S. international relations and economy through increased foreign engagement by U.S. citizens. Future outlook. Now, I know we're all excited about this prospect, but let's keep our feet on the ground. This is still just a proposal, and there's a long road between a candidate's statement and actual policy change. The likelihood of this becoming reality depends on many factors: who wins the election, the makeup of Congress, and the priorities of the administration, to name a few. We're likely to see both support and opposition for this change. Supporters will argue for the fairness of the proposal and its potential boost to America's global competitiveness. Critics might worry about lost tax revenue or the potential for tax avoidance. As we wrap up, I want to encourage all of you to stay informed on this issue. It's a developing situation that could have a significant impact on our lives as expats. So keep an eye on the news, reach out to your representatives, and make your voices heard. Remember, we're not just talking about dry tax policy here. We're talking about our lives, our careers, and our ability to pursue opportunities around the world while maintaining our ties to home. It's an exciting time, and I, for one, am eager to see how this unfolds. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on this topic? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Share this video with your friends who might be considering becoming an expat. Subscribe to our channel for more insightful videos on all things expats. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you liked this video, you will love our videos on The Ultimate Guide to Portugal's Golden Visa and Digital Nomad Visa, Top 5 Countries for Digital Nomads Ranked. Until next time, this is your fellow expat signing off and keeping my fingers crossed for some positive changes in our future.